Flanery. Coach, if you'd begin with an opening statement about the game itself.
Yeah, we got to stop playing the second quarter when we play these guys. We've, to their credit, we've become super unraveled in the second quarter of both games. I don't know what we had for turnovers tonight in the second quarter, but we had 10 in Omaha, 10 of our 18, and it felt like we had about 10 of our 19 today. Their pressure obviously was the difference in the game. I mean, we couldn't move the ball. We struggled really in the full court and in the half court in the first half, particularly after the first few minutes. So they went small, switched everything, did a really good job defensively. In some ways it made it easier for us to rebound because of, of how they played smaller and defend the post, but it certainly didn't make it easier for us on our offensive end. So, you just can't overcome the 15 steals. I mean, it was actually a little closer than the steals. We had 7, and I think we had 1 in Omaha. So, credit to them. I think they're playing really well. Strong has been really a key in both the games. We've struggled to guard her, and they do. Some of it's how good she is. Some of it's that they're a good passing team, and they get her some pretty easy looks. And we have to switch a lot just because of how well and how quickly they run their actions. So, yeah.
Open floor to questions.
Coach, they've had different people out at different times. Now they kind of get most of their top players out there together. What's the challenge like now with what they've put out on the floor now, the options that he has?
Yeah, well, they're deeper than they've been the last couple of years. They're, without Edwards, they don't have the, Sarah's like a big guard. I think she's a little bit more of a face-up player. She's obviously good with her back to basket, but I think they have the ability with their depth and just how hard they play to be an elite defensive team. And you saw that tonight. I mean, I said, as good as Paige and Sarah and Easy are, it's Chen and Shade and KK Arnold, how hard they play and how uncomfortable they make you on the defensive end that is a challenge. And we knew they'd downsize probably a lot because they only played Jana, I think 8 minutes in Omaha. I don't know how many minutes she played tonight, but they downsized a lot and played Sarah at the 5, which again their defensive flexibility against us just prohibits ball movement. And if we can't move the ball, we don't have enough one-on-one talent to get to the rim, and we don't have the size to just throw it inside. So, I mean, honestly, they're a really good offensive team, but the challenge for us has been to score the ball on them. Because I mean, you say, well, we got 60, or they got 72 each night, but I think 72 in Omaha and 72 tonight, but a lot of those were off steals and open court play because we couldn't handle their pressure.
Kind of going off of that, you guys don't shoot under 30% from free too often. Just how did you feel like they made things difficult for your shooters, especially?
Yeah, they did and they didn't. I mean, we missed some. I mean, Lauren missed a couple wide open threes. Molly missed probably 3. Morgan took a couple contested, but I think part of that's fatigue and just, when you do finally get an open one, it's harder to make it when it's been X number of possessions since you got one. So I'm not worried about that. I think that again, we got to decide. Maybe we need to play. We've been playing with about 7.5, and we got to decide if we need to play a little bit more or lengthen our rotation a little bit. Because I think some of it was for sure. Some of it was their defense. I think Sarah blocked Morgan on a 3, and I thought Morgan took a couple, but I thought Molly and Lauren, for the most part, had really good looks, or mostly good looks.
Here at the corner.
fourth year you've seen Paige in the past 5 years. Where do you feel like she's grown the most on the court?
Well, she's really good on handoffs and ball screens. I mean, and just her ability to play at the right pace, I think, is good because like she can come off something, and obviously you've got to go over on a lot of screens because she and AZ are atypical because you have to go over further out on the floor on them than pretty much anybody else you play. So at least there's some symmetry, and there's two players out there you have to go over on. So when you talk about them, but I think she's just the pace at which she plays, whether she's going to shoot the pull up or she's going to wait for Sarah to get open on the roll. I mean, her ability to kind of throw the ball behind our head to Sarah on the roll a few times where we're this far out of position and the ball goes, by her head. But you look at her assistant turnovers, she's 7-1 tonight. And I think she was 58-13 in the league on assisted turnover ratio. So that's 4.5-1 by my count. So I think it's that maybe. I think she, I'd say her conditioning too, probably. I think like a lot of, when she came in, she's a thin-ish kid, I think. So, just the physicality of college basketball, maybe her freshman and sophomore year took more of a toll on her because she's a good defender too, and she not playing as many minutes this year, but I just think she handles physicality probably a little bit better too.
Question over here.
Coach, two-part question, if you don't mind. First, you're locked into the number 2 seed
Yeah.
for the tournament. What's the most important thing your team needs to get done in the next week before you come back here? And my second question is on UConn. From the outside, can you just address the consistency that they've had for 30, 35 years now, winning and all that,
Yeah.
and how hard that is to do it for that extension, that length of time?
Yeah. Okay. I'm old, so I'm only going to remember the first part of your question, or the second part of your question. No, I actually do remember now that I think about it, the first part of your question. But I'm going to address the second one first. Really hard. Like this group that we have in 4 years, this has been the best 4-year run we've ever had. Okay? And, I get energized by working with this team, this group. I've been probably more energized because of how attentive they are, how connected they are, how much time they put in. But I can't imagine doing it for 30 years. In fact, just when we made the Elite Eight a few years ago, and you're going from, you got to watch so much film and just the whirlwind of the NCAA tournament. And I thought to myself, okay, we just went to the Elite Eight. Gino's like going to the Final Four or the championship game every year. I can't imagine what that's like, the lack of sleep and the amount of preparation. But yeah, it's extraordinary. I think, it's, because everybody expects you to win every game, right? Everybody expects you to win every game. So that's, there's a lot of pressure, but yeah, there's probably nothing like it. If you look, there's a lot of schools that have been good for 10 years, 15, 20, but to do it for over 30, really. I think I saw them in the Final Four in 91 or 92 with Gary Bascom. That's how old I am, but then they won it in 95, but, so we're talking 35-ish, yeah, it's extraordinary. And then the first part of your question, or the first question you had was, what do we need to do? We got a tough one. Villanova is a really good basketball team. They'll have an extra day prep. But I like playing them because I think they're, stylistically, they're hard to prepare for too. And you want that challenge. We got to get Morgan Molly healthy. Like she has not practiced in the last 3 weeks. She since our Seton Hall game, which was 3 weeks ago yesterday, and And that affects, I said that doesn't just affect her in games, it affects our whole team because there's a lot of stuff we can't do in practice without her. So we've got to get her closer to 100%. I think that's, and then the other thing is just figuring out, like we maybe do have to look to play a slightly deeper rotation. Allison Heathcock came in and, there were 8 times during the game and I'm like, should I try Allison? Should I try Allison? It's, she came in, gave us 6 points at the end, and she's a kid, a freshman who probably can help us a little bit more. So figuring out that I think is important too, because if we're going to try to win 3 games in 3 days, if you can add 1 or 2 more to your rotation and even going forward into the NCAA tournament, that's going to be important.
Take a question here in the middle.
1 game left until the tournament, but what have you seen from the Big East top to bottom this year, and what's made it a fun year in the Big East?
Well, we've won a lot, so that's fun for me. Tonight wasn't as much fun, but we've had a lot. Look, I think the average point differential between UConn and us was in the league was something like 34, going on 35 to 11. So we've had a lot more close games, and I think as a coach, if I was Gino, I'd get bored with not having to coach down the stretch of these games like I get to more. But that's I enjoy that. It's stressful in the moment, but I do. We've had a lot of fairly stressful games, and I think one thing is first game to second game. So okay, what did we do well? How are they going to react? How are we going to? What do we need to react to from the first game? What do we not want to overreact to? I love that part about coaching, because I think it's like, like I didn't think we would lose the turnover battle again as much tonight because we worked on it more, and yet it was still, that's what it was. But I think that's a big piece of it, is how do you, how's the second game play out compared to the first game, and then. I like going to the cities. I like the Big East cities too. Omaha's a sneaky good city if you guys have never been there, but it's fun to go to Philly and New York and Chicago and Hartford.
Question over there in the corner.
You guys are laughing at that last one, right?
In that order.
I'm just curious, when you scout Sarah Strong on tape, what stands out? And when you've seen her twice, has that changed for the things that she has done?
Tremendous instincts for a freshman. And again, it helps that she plays on a really good passing team, because if she moves well without the ball, she understands angles, great hands, and I think she's a sneaky good defender. She looks like she's, if you saw her tonight, it looks like Morgan's got an avenue to throw a pass, and all of a sudden her hand is out there getting a deflection. So I think she's a sneaky good defender. I think she's got really good instincts. She's just a good basketball player, probably a great basketball player, but you don't look at her and think, oh, she's 6'5", or oh, she's hyper athletic. She's a good athlete, but she's just a really good basketball player with really good instincts for somebody who's a freshman.
We'll take 2 more questions. All right, thanks, Coach.